Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. Time to talk a little Bucks basketball. Steve Sparky Fifer from Sports Radio 1250 WSSP, co-host of the Wendy's Big Show weekday afternoons from 2 until 6. He, of course, Gery Woelfel, one of the top insiders in all of the NBA, here with the Racine Journal-Times at RacineSportsZone.com. A great column by you talking about possible ownership getting ready to take over, maybe as early as this summer. With Herb Cole and this new investor group or whoever it is that may come in, and that momentum continues to carry on. Are there nerves, do you think, right now maybe in that Bucks front office as a possibility of a change might be coming?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely some nerves there. I mean, you got all the basketball officials, right. the top administrators, you got the coaching staff. Players don't care. They're going to collect a paycheck, but yeah, John Hammond, David Morway, the general manager, assistant general manager, Larry Drew, and his whole staff. I would imagine they're concerned.
And I'm assuming they're not the only ones that are concerned. Just people that just work in the office.
Oh, exactly.
Because a lot of times when you see new ownership come in, they bring all their own people in.
And you know what? That could carry over into the broadcasting aspect of it too. A lot of times when there's change, they say, "Hey, we want a fresh brand." So your radio broadcaster could be out, your television broadcasters could be out.
Maybe we get new uniforms.
Who knows? You know what I'm thinking? You and I, how all these groups have frontmen?
Yeah.
Like David Kahn supposedly is a frontman for one of the teams. And then also, I was told Brian Colangelo could possibly be a frontman as well. Well, I talked to Brian the other day. I call him. I think I'm just going to ask him flat out, if there's any truth to it. So I call him and he goes, "Hello?" And I go, "Brian, are you awake?" And he goes, "I'm in Italy."
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So chatted with him for a few minutes, and he denied it at the point. And his disclaimer was not at this point.
Right.
Okay. So we'll see. I think though, that you and I should be the front man, and we'll round up about 6 to 8, deep-pocketed guys.
Herb would never sell to any group with me as a front man. I'm pretty positive of that. I could be wrong, but I would be shocked.
Well, maybe we could just say you're an anonymous associate, and not tell them, a silent partner.
Sell it. By the way, here's our new guy who's going to talk to the media, Sparky. Yeah, good luck. But we have to still go with the current team, obviously, throughout the rest of the year until this new ownership group comes in. So let's talk about this current team right now. John Henson says pretty much he's kind of going through a sophomore slump at this point is how he kind of deems it going forward. We talked about him, I don't know, a week or two ago on the Big and Say Basketball postgame show as far as, what is he in 5 years? Who does he end up eventually becoming? And he kind of reminds me, if everything goes right and he develops, he kind of reminds me of a Rasheed Wallace a little bit. I mean, as far as he's a long guy, he can play the 4, he can play the 5. Now, his jumper needs some work, obviously. He doesn't have that crazy mentality. But just his body style and how he kind of plays. Wallace could be physical at times, but he was more of a finesse player most of his career.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I see the similarities there. The only problem is John Henson has become strictly an around-the-basket player.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But with Rasheed, especially later in his
career,
he parked out in the three-point line all the time.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I'm not trying to knock down your
No, I think it's just hard to come up with one.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And Rasheed had some nastiness to him.
John does not.
John is too nice of a guy. He's got to change his temperament at some point in his career if he really wants to.
I'll throw another one at you.
Yeah.
Marcus Camby.
Yeah. You're taking long guys that are athletic and the guy I see is Tyson Chandler.
No, there's another one.
When he first started out, I'm not saying the Tyson Chandler now because he's been in the league 12 years.
And he's added on some weight.
Absolutely. He probably put on 30, 40 pounds in that span. But coming out of high school and even his first couple of years, he was pretty thin.
Right.
And then he gradually put on his body. But Chandler is a defensive-oriented player. Henson is a defensive-oriented player. They're shot blockers, both of them. Yeah. Not really good scorers, but, they're capable scorers.
See, I think there's a lot of potential for Henson offensively. I really do. I mean, I see it. I don't think when you I look at Larry Sanders and I go, yeah, I just don't know how much better he gets offensively.
I agree.
I look at Henson and I go, I could see him in jumpers. I could see him developing if he gets that guy that can help him get to the next level.
Well, I've actually seen Henson go out 15, 20 feet and shoot it. He's got a nice stroke. So I wish he would do more of that. He's almost become too reliant on his little left-hand baby hook, and sometimes he takes it wildly. Instead of just taking his time, relaxing, and then making his move. But I totally agree with you. I still think he has a huge upside. I tend to doubt if it'll be in Milwaukee if the current player personnel people are similar.
Right.
John Hammond, Morway. I really think that they would trade him. If they have a changing of the guard, who knows?
See, and that's going to be interesting because, again, when we get back to the NBA draft again, and you start looking at, okay, if this current group stays together, would Henson possibly be on the move draft day for another pick up on top in the first round?
I think he could.
I would love that.
Something's got to give. Either he's going to go or Ilyasova's going to go. Right now Ilyasova has the higher value. But Henson's value is still pretty good, too, because, he was a lottery pick. What was he, 14? I'm trying to remember what
he was
exactly.
Up there, yeah.
Someone in that ballpark. And a lot of people actually had him, in the top 8. So I would think his value is, still there. His contract's low.
There's
He's
a couple
young
of
player.
things. I'll tell you who I want if this happens.
God.
In my head, I've watched this kid play all year, but I'm going, well, he's not top 3, top 4 worthy.
Oh, you mean in the draft?
In the draft.
Okay.
I'm like, but, he's around maybe 10 in that lottery possibly.
Yeah.
If you could get a deal done.
Don't say Aaron Gordon.
I love Aaron Gordon.
I know.
But I don't know if he's going to come out.
Yeah.
But the guy I like, Warren, the shooting guard from North Carolina State, I'm telling you what, that kid is as good a shooting guard as you're going to get in this draft. He's probably the top shooting guard in this draft, unless you put Wiggins at the 2, which I think the Bucks would have to if they got him. But I like him. If you can come out of this draft with Parker, Embiid or Wiggins, and then Warren to go along with it, and add 2 scores to it, TJ Warren. If you can add 2 scores to it, now you can put that with Giannis and go from there. Hey, look, and things are starting to look good. You can get 2 young guys because they have got to find a shooting guard, a young shooting guard to put next to Brandon Knight with some size, and Warren is that guy.
Well, possibly. He's still not. I've talked to a bunch of NBA people. The highest rated shooting guard that they have on their boards is Young from Kentucky.
And that's projecting out what he could be.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What it is.
I've seen some games this year where he's been awful.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I think, if he's the best shooting guard on their boards, it's a horrible year for shooting guards.
That's great. Warren is ready to play right now. I don't know if Young
is,
but Warren is ready right now.
Who knows what he does in the tournament. They won their first game, right? So, if he gets to showcase his talents, maybe it'll stop rise. But right now, he's kind of projected.
I'm going to make you sit down and watch North Carolina State.
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that kid can come in and play right now for the Bucks. Yeah. He can come in and play tomorrow next to Brandon Knight. There's your backcourt. Go get somebody else, whether that's Embiid, Parker, or Wiggins, to go along with Giannis. And I like kind of the future and the core that you're going with. And then next year, maybe you're not that good again. You get another high draft pick and you go.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the free agent list.
But again, it's just how high can you get up with Henson. That's how we started this whole thing. How high can you get up?
I would think at the very least they got a fringe lottery pick there.
You think you can get up to a fringe lottery?
So somewhere
I would love that.
12 to 16 range. Otherwise I wouldn't trade him. Because like you said,
agree.
I think he's got a big upside yet, and I wouldn't give up on him.
And you are going to irritate a lot of people when you trade him. So whoever you trade him for, you better make darn sure that player's going to be able to come in and have an impact right away.
Sure, absolutely.
To make people forget about Henson. Because if they come in and struggle, everybody's going to go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what I have a real problem with now is Zaza. Zaza is not an interior post defender. And I love his game. He plays the game the right way.
He's valuable for the Bucks.
Yeah, absolutely. But when he and Ersan are on the floor at the same time, they have no rim protectors. Zero.
Right.
Neither one can get off the floor, basically.
Yep.
So that's where Henson comes into play. And
if it was up to you, and you're the president of the Ersan fan club, but if you were the general manager, which one would you try to move?
Ersan. It's simply because...
And you love Ersan.
And I do. And I've probably been the president of his fan club back when Scott Skiles was coaching.
Yep.
I got a Skiles case for not playing. But Ersan's attitude has changed. And contrary to what you've been reading in the papers, that he's happy here, he wants to be with the franchise, he made it abundantly clear before the trading deadline.
He wanted out.
Absolutely. I've talked to multiple sources, and Who knows? Maybe some guy's going to come in like Phil Jackson and all of a sudden win them over.
I'm telling you, I said it before on this video, and I'll say it again. I'd sit him down and go, you said before you signed in free agency, you didn't care where in the world you played. You were signing for the most money. It was all about money. Yeah. Cool, you're being honest. You knew darn right well the infrastructure of the Bucs organization when you signed the deal.
Oh,
you knew the politics. You knew how everything worked. You know the weather here. You know everything going around. And now, after you get paid your money, now you're going to cry like a little baby and act like, oh, I didn't know. Shut up. Just shut up. I'm sorry. I tell Ersan, I could care less what you want. It's not happening. We signed you, now go out there and play.
Yeah, and the other thing that really, from a Bucs perspective, that has to gnaw them, is he's huge into international basketball. He wants to play for his country every year. And every year he comes in, he's tired, he's fatigued, physically, mentally. And then, of course, he hurt his ankles in training camp, so he was shot for most of the year. So I would trade him. I mean,
now, with the value you get for him versus Henson, how much of a difference?
Well, it depends upon the team, what they have in mind. I mean, if you want a player to come in and be an immediate contributor, you go with Ersan.
Right.
If you're in a rebuilding mode, somewhat like the Bucs, you go with Henson.
But can you get a 1 for Ersan?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah, late first, Dan.
So, all right, well, that's another one I did. See, but for me, it's about accumulating ones. Okay, so if I can get me another 1, and that guy can end up being something, fine. I mean, I'm totally fine with it if I'm trading somebody to get another 1. Now, Henson's different than Ersan. Because Ersan, I'm more than willing and ready to give up on him. I'm not as willing to give up on John Henson right now. So if I'm going to give up Henson, you better get me somebody that I know is going to come in and be a contributor, right away, and is going to be an offensive player.
You know what?
Because they need offense.
I was thinking this before the show started. The Bucs draft philosophy under John Hammond.
Best available.
Yeah. But they've always played for upside. If you look at their picks,
absolutely.
Brandon Jennings upside, Joe Alexander upside, Larry Sanders upside, John Henson upside, the Greek Freak, and you're waiting
for them to develop. Right.
I would like to see them take a good player.
Well, they're going to if they're in the top 3.
Well, they have to. I mean, they can't miss on that. I mean,
well, they could. No, don't say that. They could. They could do what they've been doing and say, we're not going to take Wiggins, Parker, and we're going to take Exum.
Oh, sure.
And then you're going to wait. You're going to wait like you are for Giannis.
Well, even Embiid. Embiid's a project.
To a degree.
Oh, he
but
is.
Embiid's better offensively than anybody they got right now. Right now.
I agree with
Offensively, he's better than anybody they got. Now,
and defensively, he's very good. I'm not downplaying, but he's
going to get a lot better.
He's not good. I agree, but all these guys are going to get a lot better as they go on. So, but my point is, instead of drafting projects all the time, even though they're athletic and all this stuff, get a guy that can play. I mean, now they have to. They
don't.
Yes, they do.
I disagree.
Because
your job as a general manager is to draft a guy who you think is going to be the best player in that draft when it's all said and done versus the rest of the players left. So if you think in 5 years Joel Embiid is the best player in this draft, then you take Joel Embiid. If you think Wiggins is the best player in 5 years, then you take Wiggins. You don't take a guy so you can win next year.
No, I would take any of those. There's 5 guys in my mind, or 4 guys I would take.
That's all there is. There's 4 and there's a drop-off.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even take Embiid for a number of reasons. And I'm going to go into that more when we get closer to the draft. There's no need to now. But I would cross him off my list already. I have reasons, trust me.
Okay. So if Embiid's not on your 4, who's your 4?
We got Wiggins, Parker, Exum, and my shocker, you're going to say, what? Vonleh. I love Vonleh. I think we're talking about kids with upside. He's 6'11". He's multi-talented. I think he's going to be terrific. Now, right off the bat. Now, I'm kind of contradicting
I'm just glad you didn't say Marcus Smart.
He's not in my top 8.
No, he looks like Brandon Knight to me without the offense at this point.
And I'll put an asterisk by another guy, and that would be Dario Saric. I haven't seen enough of him, but from everything I've told, he's really good.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. And it goes against my philosophy.
I know what your philosophy is.
No white Americans. But
he's not an American, though.
No. Not about your guy. I'm talking about myself. So the top 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put them in necessarily any order, but Embiid, Wiggins, Parker, Exum, right? Mm-hmm. Those are my top 4. Once if you're at 5, if you lose number 1, the worst record that you've had all year to fill, you may not win another game, and you get the worst luck possible, which is the Bucs' luck, and we go from 2 sliding down to 5, and those 4 are gone. Now I'm sitting there at 5.
Exactly.
I'll tell you right now, I may take McDermott.
I would consider it.
I won't freak out if they do, because I am after 4. I think it's a jumbled mess.
But
McDermott is clearly the best player on the board after 4.
This is what the ill-informed observers are saying. Well, if we don't get the number 1 pick, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, like you just pointed out.
It's a big deal if you're out of the top 4.
Absolutely, because you could drop to 5 if you get to 2.
And you cannot have 5.
And that's why I say 1 is so very, very important. They got to lose every single game the rest of the way, or close to it.
They're not going to. They're playing better.
They have a 2-game lead over Philadelphia.
You realize they are playing better.
Oh,
way better.
They could have won 2 or 3 games the last 3 weeks.
Correct. They're playing way better. Now, thankfully, they're on the West Coast. And
you want to hear my theory on that?
What?
Because of the ownership change, I think all these guys are playing for their jobs right now.
For the Bucs?
Including the coach, and saying, hey, we got a competitive team, we can win. Everybody. Because they know if they looked ultra bad, they're not going to get a job again. They're not going to be hired.
More good news. He's Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky. Fifer, that'll do it for another edition of Sports Junkie, talking Bucs basketball. We'll see you next time right here at RacineSportsZone.com.